Walt Disney was inspired to create Disneyland in Anaheim, California by his travels around the world, including experiences at sea and in the air. From the pristine Swiss Alps to the chic French Riviera, he saw it all on his travels. This is why when creating the Disney theme park, Disney's imagination was so vivid. A trip to a Disney theme park is like stepping into a fantasy, whether you're a youngster or just a big kid at heart. Many Disney attractions, however, take inspiration from real locations. So let's tour some of the Earth's most remote regions and learn how these actual, breathtaking places inspired some of your favorite attractions at Disney theme parks. 1. Neuschwanstein Castle. Disneyland's Sleeping Beauty Castle, which serves as a gateway to Fantasyland, was inspired in large part by Neuschwanstein, a castle in the German Alps. During a family vacation to Europe in 1952, Walt saw Neuschwanstein and was clearly impressed by its Romanesque architecture. Peter Pan's Flight, Snow White's Enchanted Wish, and Pinocchio's Daring Journey all have a Bavarian village feel, since Walt Disney probably saw the Black Forest in Germany on his very own tour of his. Neuschwanstein's palace opulent design helps it in serving as the focal point. King Ludwig II commissioned the construction of the castle in the 19th century as a retreat and a tribute to composer Richard Wagner. Both the original site and its pink and blue theme park counterpart are among the most visited places in the respective countries, although the original is much more sober in character. 2. Matterhorn Mountain. On June 14, 1959, Disneyland inaugurated a new attraction called the Matterhorn Bobsleds, and you may be shocked to learn that it is inspired by the beautiful peak that serves as a dividing line between Switzerland and Italy in the Alps. It is also influenced by a Disney movie from 1959 called The Third Man on the Mountain. As a result of Walt's obsession with the Matterhorn, a roller coaster that was modeled like the mountain was also added to Disneyland in California in the 1960s. The original Matterhorn is 14,692 feet tall, making it the tallest mountain in Europe. Disney's imitation, however, is only 147 feet tall, making it about 100 times smaller than the height of the original. Despite the Disney attraction being much smaller, the likeness is striking. 3. New Orleans. Beginning in the 1940s, Walt and his wife, Lillian, began making frequent trips to New Orleans with the purpose of searching for unique gems in the city's main antique and curio shops. Because Walt was so enamored with the Crescent City, he planned an entire section of Disneyland that is meant to be a recreation of the French Quarter, complete with its distinctive architecture and buzzing ambiance. Attractions such as the Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean may be found at New Orleans Square. And in 2024, a new ride called Tiana's Bayou Adventure will open in this same location. Another interesting fact that many are unaware of is that at the ceremony in 1966 that marked the opening of New Orleans Square at Disneyland, the mayor of New Orleans made Walt Disney an honorary citizen. 4. Tivoli Gardens. When Walt and his family boarded the Queen Mary and set sail for Europe for their 2-month journey, they traveled to several cities in Europe, including London, Paris, Amsterdam, Copenhagen, Rome, and Genoa. Tivoli Gardens is one of the oldest amusement parks in the world, and Walt went there while he was in Copenhagen. According to a comment attributed to Walt, the park was immaculate and brightly colored, and the price was reasonable enough for everybody to afford it. Everything from the cheeriness of the music to the quality of the food and drink to the kind service of the staff came together to provide an enjoyable day for the customers. If the Walt Disney Family Museum is to be believed, Walt was left on that day with such a strong enough impression of the park's tidiness and family-friendly environment that he later replicated those same aspects in his own theme park, Disneyland, which opened 4 years after the whole event. 5. Marceline. In 1906, when Walt was 4 years old, his family located to Marceline, Missouri. Although later his family moved to Kansas City, Walt always referred to Marceline as his hometown and frequently reminisced about the wonderful times he spent there as a boy. The town of Marceline played a significant role in Walt Disney's life during his formative childhood years, and in the feeling of magic and nostalgia, he wanted to evoke this at his theme park. Even though Marceline's Main Street doesn't look much like Disneyland's Main Street, the town did indeed have a special place in the heart of Walt Disney. 6. Founders Park. Only 2 miles separate Founders Park in Anaheim, California, and the world-famous theme park in Disneyland. More than a century ago, a giant Moreton Bay fig tree was planted in the park to provide much-needed shade for the surrounding neighborhood. It is also widely believed that the tree was a source of inspiration for the Swiss Family Treehouse attraction that can be found in Disneyland. According to an article by Orange County historian Chris Jepson for Yesterland, there isn't much evidence to prove that the tree fully inspired Walt to build the Swiss Family Treehouse. However, there is documentation that staff members who worked on the attraction, and possibly Walt himself, photographed the tree and took recently trimmed branches to shape details of the Disney tree, now known as the Tarzan tree. 7. Castillo de San Felipe del Morro. Walt Disney took his very own Gulfstream aircraft to San Juan, Puerto Rico in order to scout potential locations for the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction that would be located in the New Orleans Square at Disneyland. Out of everything he set his eyes on, it was only his first-hand experience of Old San Juan and Castillo de San Felipe de Morro that ultimately contributed to the cause. Although Walt had initially envisioned the attraction as a walkthrough, a ride replaced the whole idea. The ride, whose ultimate layout was developed keeping in mind the Castillo de San Felipe. Unfortunately, despite his efforts, Walt passed away in December 1966, only a few short months before the attraction opened to the public. He was never able to see the finished product. 8. Children's Fairyland. Children's Fairyland is an amusement park with a fairy tale motif that has been open for business in Oakland, California since 1950. This was 5 full years before Disneyland opened its doors to the public. There is at least one known visit of Walt to this park in May of 1954. This was the time when Disneyland was still in the process of being developed. He most likely visited the theme park because it had attractions based on Peter Pan and Alice in Wonderland, both of which are currently featured in their own right at Disneyland. Because he had such a positive experience at the park, he invited the director of Children's Fairyland and the lead puppeteer to join the team at Disneyland. 9. Griffith Park. Perhaps more than any other location on this list, Griffith Park in Los Angeles served as inspiration for the building of Disneyland. The concept of Disneyland is said to have come to Walt at Griffith Park. The tale goes that on Daddy's Day, Walt would take his daughter to Griffith Park. According to the Disney Parks blog, Walt Disney stumbled on the idea for Disneyland while watching his kids ride a merry-go-round and snacking on peanuts at a nearby park bench. The idea is further cemented because in the lobby of the Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln attraction at Disneyland, you can see one of the original carousel horses from the Griffith Park merry-go-round and the famous park seat. This brings us to the end of this video. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and sharing so we can keep bringing more content like this. Also, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time!